Good evening, I'm Prasad Michael and you're watching Kini News, the show that brings you today's biggest stories. Malaysian tycoon Lee Kim Yew has expressed concern after it was discovered that over 100 factory workers from a red zone in Klang were moved to Seri Kembangan for quarantine, where they tested positive. 200 migrant workers of a manufacturing company were allegedly ferried from a COVID-19 red zone in Klang and were checked into a budget hotel in Seri Kembangan to undergo quarantine. Everything appeared normal until local community leader and Country Heights Holdings Bhd founder Lee Kim Yew found out that over 160 migrant workers were found to be infected with COVID-19.
But I must stress that they own the building, they have a right to do anything they want. I don't want to say it's right, it's wrong, but I'm worried for the outbreak of the COVID-19 among the foreign workers. Because if you see Singapore experience, the outbreak of foreign workers in Singapore, there is a main cause of Singapore to close down. So now Malaysia with second wave, I think we all have to be hati-hati about this outbreak among the foreign workers. And imagine 200 people, 160 have spreading among themselves. And I think our job is to make sure how to contain within the foreign workers and not to separate the Malaysian.
Lee initially saw no issue with the factory sending their staff to the hotel, which is owned and operated by the manufacturer itself, for quarantine. However, he raised concern over the welfare of the migrant workers and the safety of the surrounding community.
But what worries me, because near this area, we have a lot of staff, residents, and next door is a shopping. And now there, they also run the 7-Eleven. So I think now we confirm got this 160 cases. We had to be ready to take precaution, that's all.
An image provided by Lee showed Health Ministry officials at the hotel, where they had cordoned off a part of the area this morning. The hotel is located near the Mines shopping mall, which is developed by Lee himself.
No, that's why I was curious also, because how can I know? I said, how can my staff know, my PA know? In fact, the Sedang Police, SB, is on top of it. And the list is from SB. So it's accurate information, undeniable. So because these are things very sensitive, because other people's is a building belong to them, we should not. I'm part of the mines resident, and also the developer here. I think I'm duty bound. If I know there's a COVID confirmed case here, is to inform all my staff, all my associates, and to ask them to be hati-hati. That's all.
Malaysia Kini has contacted the manufacturer for comment and as of the time of recording is still awaiting a response. Over 1,000 new cases and 5 new clusters were discovered today. Here's the country's latest COVID-19 situation. Malaysia reported 1,210 new COVID-19 cases today, bringing the number of active cases in the country to 12,788. From the total daily new cases reported today, 19 were imported cases, the rest were local transmissions. Sabah reported the highest number of cases with 499, followed by Selangor with 259 and Kuala Lumpur with 238 cases. The Health Ministry also reported 5 new deaths linked to COVID-19, bringing the national cumulative death toll to 318. Meanwhile, there are 105 patients in the ICU and 40 patients requiring breathing aid. The Health Ministry added that 5 new clusters were discovered today: the Avenue Cluster in Penampang, Sabah, the Kejora Cluster in Kota Kinabalu, Sabah, the Kasar Cluster in Kampong Kuala Lumpur, the Summer Cluster in Northeast Penang, and the Mengketil Cluster in Kota Machang, Tanah Merah in Kelantan and Besut, Terengganu. Federal Territories DAP will be collecting objections from stakeholders affected by the Kuala Lumpur City Hall's liquor sales rules for next year.
DAP chairperson Tan Kong Kwai said the Federal Territories chapter of the party will organise a meeting with the Kuala Lumpur Mayor to withdraw DBKL's new liquor sales rules. In a statement today, Tan said that the new rules violated the rights of non-Muslims, as they were guaranteed freedom to practice their culture in the federal constitution. He said, the alcohol business already faces many restrictions, and it is difficult to obtain a permit. And the new rule, which places even more restrictions, would definitely cause further unhappiness to industry players. He added that the Federal Territory's DAP will collect objections from stakeholders affected by the new ruling. Tan said this in response to the new guidelines on liquor licenses in the city by DBKL, which came into effect yesterday. The guidelines stipulate that sundry shops and convenience stores will no longer be allowed to sell liquor products beginning October 1st of next year. Supermarkets, hypermarkets, hotels, bars, and pubs will still be allowed to sell liquor, but must ensure that customers are at least 21 years old. The guidelines also stipulate the time limits for when alcoholic beverages can be sold for different types of premises, among others. Tan pointed out that the rule, which targeted the national capital, would also affect tourism once it is allowed to resume. He said, businesses are already facing difficulties with the COVID-19 pandemic, and the government should not make things worse. They should instead provide more incentives and assistance to businesses, restore market confidence and vitality by stimulating public consumption.
Former Deputy Prime Minister Dr. Wan Azizah Wan Ismail has a suggestion on how MPs can help Malaysians who have been affected by the COVID-19 outbreak.
MPs who are appointed as the chairperson of government-linked companies and government-linked investment companies should have their allowance and fees cut by 50%. This was the proposal made by Pandan MP Dr. Wan Azizah Wan Ismail during her debate of the Supply Bill Budget 2021 in the Dewan Rakyat today.
Saya mencadangkan supaya allowance dan yuran pengurusi mana-mana ahli yang berhormat yang menjadi pengurusi mana-mana JLC, JLIC dikurangkan sebanyak 50% dan pengurangan ini disalurkan, bukan kurang-kurang saja macam tu, disalurkan sebagai tanggungjawab sosial korporat atau CSR kepada tabung COVID sebab YB ni telah bergaji pun kan. Dalam masa yang sama, leadership by example, PM, Menteri Kanan, Menteri-Menteri dan Timbalan Menteri pun dipotong 10%.
Wan Azizah's proposal is in line with what some political leaders have suggested as a response to the COVID-19 outbreak that has affected people's livelihood and the economy. Earlier this month, former Prime Minister Dr. Mahathir Mohamad suggested a 10% salary cut for all high-income earners in the government or private sector, with the money used to provide food for the unemployed. He had also proposed allowance and salary cuts for ministers and lawmakers. In her debate, Wan Azizah said that she was sure that opposition MPs would be willing to take a 10% pay cut to be channeled to the COVID-19 fund on the condition that government MPs are also subject to the same deduction. She also called for equal allocation for all MPs, regardless of their political affiliation.
ABN backbencher told Parliament today that efforts to secure COVID-19 vaccines could be in vain if the government does not counter anti-vaxxers. BN's-inspired MP Muhammad Nizar Zakaria has questioned whether the government will be taking action to counter anti-vaccination rhetoric amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Nizar raised the issue while debating the Budget 2021 bill in Parliament today.
Cuma apa yang menjadi kegusaran saya apabila belum pun lagi vaksin ini diperolehi wujud gerakan golongan anti-vaksin yang cuba untuk mempengaruhi rakyat untuk menolak vaksin yang bakal diperolehi nanti. Hal ini sudah tentu akan mengakibatkan segala usaha kerajaan dalam menghapuskan virus COVID-19 ini tidak akan berkesan. Apakah keadaan yang akan dilaksanakan oleh kementerian bagi membetras pahaman golongan anti-vaksin yang cuba mempengaruhi orang ramai daripada menerima vaksin, serta apakah tindakan tegas yang akan dikenakan kepada golongan anti-vaksin yang cuba memberikan pahaman yang salah mengenai vaksin?
This came following the statement by Science, Technology and Innovation Minister Kari Jamaluddin that the government has communicated with 10 COVID-19 vaccine producers. Yesterday, Kari had said that some of the discussions are in the final stage and an official announcement would be made when everything has been finalised. 3 billion ringgit has been allocated under Budget 2021 to procure vaccines. After the sad news of the passing of Gerai MP Hasbullah Osman yesterday, today a state lawmaker in Sabah passed away. Warisan's Bugaya Assemblyperson Manis Muka Muhammad Dara passed away today. The 65-year-old Sabah state lawmaker was reportedly hospitalized last night for kidney problems. Her death was announced by Penampang MP Daryl Liking in the Dewan Rakyat this afternoon.
Saya Datuk Speaker, sebelum saya bermula saya ingin merakamkan ucapan takziah kepada keluarga bekas rakan kita Ahli Parlimen Greek Datuk Hasbullah Osman dan juga ingin merakamkan juga ucapan takziah kepada keluarga seorang ahli Dewan Undangan Negeri di Sabah yang baru meninggal, YB Manis Muka, kepada keluarga dia.
Manis defended his seat with a 6,005 vote majority in a 7-cornered fight during the last state election. The vacancy in Bugaya will also force another by-election in Sabah after the upcoming Batu Sapi parliamentary by-election due to be called on December 5th. In the peninsula, the passing of Gere MP Hasbullah Osman yesterday will also see the call for a by-election. Coming up next, Joe Biden has called on Trump to cooperate. US President-elect Joe Biden issued a dire warning on the possible consequences if President Donald Trump continues to refuse to cooperate on COVID-19.
What do you see as the biggest threat to your transition right now, given President Trump's unprecedented attempt to obstruct and delay a smooth transfer of power?
More people may die.
This was the response by US President-elect Joe Biden on Monday, when asked about the possible consequences of President Donald Trump's refusal to concede the election and share his administration's COVID-19 vaccine distribution plans to help combat the pandemic.
If we have to wait until January 20th to start that planning, it puts us behind over a month and a half. And so it's important that it be done, that there be coordination now.
Biden had earlier held a video conference with several chief executives and labor leaders, including the heads of General Motors, Microsoft, Target, and Gap. In statements, the companies referred to Biden as the president-elect, and GM said it was looking forward to working with the new administration. This came as Trump once again falsely tweeted that he had won the election, while continuing to block his administration from working with the Biden transition team.
Hurricane Iota hit through the Central American coast on Tuesday, the second giant storm to tear through the area this month.
A slightly weakened Hurricane Iota hit a remote coastal area of Nicaragua with catastrophic winds and storm surges on Monday, as the region's leaders blamed climate change for destructive weather pushing millions closer to hunger. The U.S. National Hurricane Center had downgraded its power to Category 4 from 5. It is expected to dissipate over Central America on Wednesday, but not without causing serious damage. Earlier in the day, governments from Panama to Guatemala rushed to move people away from hillside, volcano, and bodies of water. Central America and southern Mexico are still reeling from Hurricane Eta, which devastated crops and washed away hillsides 2 weeks ago, killing dozens.
I have a niece who was buried by a landslide. She was trapped in the mud with 2 little children.
Many towns are still partially flooded, and the land is waterlogged from the earlier storm. The World Food Programme said millions of people had already urgently needed food aid in the wake of Eta. The unprecedented 2020 hurricane season comes as Central America is facing an economic crisis linked to the COVID-19 pandemic, with experts warning that the hardship could fuel a new round of migration from the region.
And that is all from me today. For more stories, you can go to KiniTV.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook for the latest news updates. I'll be back with more tomorrow, same time, same place. I'm Prasad Michael. Thank you for watching.